Hello guys, my name is Fro. On this channel, we make videos around technology tips, career advice and inspiration. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, and that is data science, machine learning, AI, and all of the above. More specifically, we're going to look at 10 projects, 10 ideas you can look at trying to boost your understanding of these topics or to boost your resume if you're out there looking for a job. Data science is the big race today. Machine learning and AI is what a lot of companies are looking for. They're looking for people with skills and experience in these areas. And if you have the skills and experience in these areas, you're going to stand apart from the masses. So that said, let's dive right into our presentation. 10 data science, machine learning, AI and AI projects you can try today to boost your experience. Now, before we dive into talking about these projects, just a couple of things. For prerequisites, because this will be important for people if you want to go out and try these projects, the prerequisite for this is not a lot. So for a lot of this, you might just require some skills in Python and maybe some other libraries to go along with that, like TensorFlow, Keras, and a few other libraries in Python. So if you don't need to be super advanced to be able to do some of these projects. All right, some of them are just predictions, which is very pretty straightforward to do. Now, in addition to Python, you might need a few other things if you're looking to build a project that you can actually deploy and host somewhere where people can use. So you might be looking at having some skills in Heroku to deploy a project, maybe Django or some other framework to actually build an application around this. If you're just trying to do a prediction without building any front end or any application around it, that's fine. But if you're looking to deploy it so people can actually access your project, you might want to think about Django, Heroku, or some other framework to use for that. So that said, let's dive right into the presentation for today. The very first project we have on this list for today, guys, is a house price prediction project you can do using machine learning. So a lot of people are out there looking to buy houses. Buying a house is one of the biggest investments that a lot of people can make. As a matter of fact, it's the biggest investment that people would ever make in their life. A majority of people would ever make in their life. And so this is something you can imagine that people are coming in there with all their radars up. They want to make sure they're paying a fair price for their house, or they're paying the least possible price they can pay. All right. And so if you have a way to build a machine learning model that can take in certain variables, certain input, maybe a location, the age of the house, the city, the demographics in population around, demographics information around that area, and be able to do a prediction on, based on this information, this house would sell for this amount of money. Guys, that could be a very powerful project that you can do. It's a little bit on the beginner side, but still a very important project to get you some experience with being able to do machine learning. Now, there are ways to do this that is a little bit easy, where you're not using a lot of input variables and you're able to do some prediction, and you can take it even further with including a lot of variables, thinking about politics, thinking about the economy, thinking about a lot of other factors to really make sure your predictions are on spot. Just to give you a little bit of idea on this one, a friend of mine, I think a couple of years back, was buying a house, and he actually went ahead and built a prediction model for the house he was looking to buy and the neighborhood where he was trying to buy the house in. And I can tell you, he ended up buying that house. I don't know if he bought it based on the price his machine learning model predicted, but for sure that was a good experience for him to get his hands wet and to get some hands-on experience building a project that can predict house prices. Now let's go into the very next one here, which is predicting COVID-19 using ML. Guys, this is an interesting one because COVID-19 is here, right? It's one of those things that is just in the reality that we're going to be facing as we go forward. And so if you can use some of your ML wizardry to help predict COVID-19. I did not say detect COVID-19 here. I said predict COVID-19. Now that can mean a lot of things. It could mean maybe using some data to predict what are the hotspots where COVID-19 might flare up, and be able to predict that and help your friends not go there. So there is a lot of opportunity here to use machine learning to really help with this fight against COVID-19, and you can be as part of that. We know healthcare workers are have been sung as the champions, and for right reasons, because they've been helping us stay safe and maintain health during this very difficult period. But it doesn't mean that you as a machine learning expert cannot help in that fight. So you can use some of your skills to help with predictions. Where is COVID-19 gonna happen? Maybe who is likely to get a severe case if they contact COVID-19, maybe by looking at data, looking at genetics, looking at location, looking at demographics. There's a lot of possibilities here to think about using ML in this fight against COVID-19, and that can give you some really good experience. Now, the next one that we're going to look at here in the light of diseases here is Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is another disease where it's a little bit let me not say a little bit, it's very challenging for people who have it. It's a degenerative disease where you're losing your cognitive abilities. And this one is if you're gonna do this project, you want to think about using maybe computer vision. There are other ways to approach solving or helping with Alzheimer's, but with computer vision, what happens is they can take images of the brain, they can take scans of the brain and have that, right, of Alzheimer's patients. And so what you can do is using computer vision, look at those scans, maybe looking at people who have a good brain versus people who have the Alzheimer's brain, where the neurons are kind of degenerating, and be able to predict, to say who is having Alzheimer's, who is likely to have Alzheimer's. So that's one way to approach this, maybe using computer vision and looking at the MRI scans for that. Another way you can go at this is maybe using genetics, being able, because a lot of diseases people believe that a lot of diseases comes from genes, right, or maybe some epigenetics. And if you can look at maybe the environment and then look at maybe some genes and then come at predicting Alzheimer's from that way, it could be a very good and interesting project too as well. So Alzheimer's is on the list in here, mentioning computer vision. But again, this is one of those projects that you can attack from many different angles, and it could be very powerful. Now, the next one, again, very similar to what we had for Alzheimer's, is breast cancer detection. Breast cancer is one of the many diseases that are out there affecting a lot of people. A lot of women are coming down with this. I believe men too have breast cancer. I'm not 100% sure of that. And so being able to detect this early can really help. And again, it goes into imaging. If you can image the breast, and based on that you can look at that image, because doctors have to look at all these images to make a diagnosis. But what if computer vision can be used to predict and say, all right, this person's gonna have breast cancer, or this person is predisposed to have breast cancer, or whatever it is, right? There's a lot of opportunities to add a lot of value here and save life. All right, so breast cancer is definitely on the list. The next one here is synthetic images. No, this is not on the side of healthcare. This is a little bit more on the media side. You can look at it more on the entertainment side. And if you've ever done anything online, creating content, writing blog posts, maybe making a website, editing a video, one of the things that you need images, you need videos, right? You need stock images, you need stock videos, you need a lot of those things. And in as much as there are websites where you can go ahead and buy stock images from there to use, some of those could be very costly. All right, and even those websites where you're buying images from, what they do is they actually take pictures from all over. Again, I don't know how they all take their images, but those are usually images of real people that somebody took, maybe sold it to them, and then they in turn sell it back to other folks. All right, but what if you can just use machine learning, put in a couple of variables, and it can synthetically generate an image for you that you can use, and that image would not, I don't want to call it fake, because it's just an image that doesn't exist. Let's say you want a face of a man in maybe their 20s that is African American, and you want that face, and is 5'7". You can synthetically put in those variables, and it can generate an image for you of that meets those criteria. All right, and you can use that in a blog post without having to worry about copyright and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of opportunities here from a synthetic image perspective, and also around privacy. All right, so maybe you just want an avatar of a particular person or an image of something. Maybe you want an image of a landscape with a mountain and hills and trees with a river flowing in between. If you can put in those variables and your machine learning AI can, just generate an image of that landscape, guys, that could be a very powerful project and an experience to have. All right, so something to think about. Now, the next one that we have on this list again goes into prediction. So you notice a lot of these projects are either predictions or computer vision or just synthetic generation of things. All right, so we've talked about 3 predictions so far: housing, COVID, and then here we're talking about the stock market. We know stock market is one of the big pillars of the capitalistic economy system we live in. All right, a lot of people have money invested in the stock market. A lot of people want to buy stocks, want to sell stocks. Can you build a prediction system, an engine that based on certain variables, the company name, the stock price, the age of the company, number of employees, what the company does, the location, and all of that stuff, whatever variables that you can find, can you use that to predict the price of a stock, of any given stock? I can tell you it's an interesting one, but it's definitely a challenging one, because if you get it right, you can probably make a lot of money, right? If you can just predict stock prices and be accurate with it, you can make a lot of money. Or there'll be a lot of companies coming after you to work for them and help them with the problems they have. All right, now the next one that we'll look at here, and I thought I would include this one because I think it's very interesting to me, and this is something that's close to my heart. I love education, and what I put in here, and I'm going to explain what it means here, is building an automatic lesson planner. All right, we know that a lot of people have been talking about the current education system being broken, right? The current education system being broken. Now, whether you believe that or not is for a different debate. But here is, if you think about it, is there a way that you can come into a classroom, or you can take a student, right, or a pupil that is looking to learn, you ask them a series of questions. Based on those questions, you can see the gaps using machine learning or using AI in their understanding of certain concepts, and then prescribe to them content or materials that they should be learning or they should be reading. All right, and this could be very, very powerful. Okay, because a lot of what happens today again is this industrial way of education, where you put a bunch of kids in the classroom and you just impact knowledge on them at a constant rate, and you hope that everybody's understanding at the same rate, which we know is not the case. And then after that, you quiz them, and if you pass, you pass. If you fail, you fail. And then based on those results, a lot of your life outcomes can be determined by that, right? And that could be a challenge, because we know people mature at different levels. People learn at different levels, right? What might make sense to one kid in a given context might not make sense to another kid. And if there are gaps in understanding, being able to figure that out could be a challenge, especially when all you do is ask 10 questions that the teacher is going to ask, and the teacher is going to know what this child is missing. That could be a challenge. All right, so being able to maybe come up with a series of diagnostic questions that you can ask, and then based on that you can prescribe lessons or videos or course material for a student, and then based on that you can prescribe what they need to learn. All right, that could be powerful. So if I come in today, I want to learn math, and you ask a few questions, and you discover that I'm lacking in algebra, well, you give me some more algebra questions, or some more algebra content to learn. All right, or if you just decide that, well, today we want to learn about statistics. All right, and then based on that you can just prescribe the content around statistics that have been aggregated by machine learning, by AI, tailored to a particular student. All right, or tailored to a particular group of people, or tailored to a particular demographics. You can decide how much you want to go with this, but it could be a very, very powerful project to really disrupt education or how we teach today. So something to think about as well. Now, the next one that we're going to do here is sports. Again, we're trying to hit every angle, right? Sports cannot be left out of the debate. So what this project you can think about doing for this one is, why not build, a lot of people love their teams. A lot of people are big fans of their teams, right? They want their teams to win. And there's a lot of trading going on. Players are being bought, players are being sold, coaches are being swapped left and right. And so can you use all of that data and be able to predict which team is going to win? A lot of teams are already hiring lots of data scientists to help them. use data and analytics in their game. So it's not just about coaching and how much you can train and run. People are looking at statistics a lot. All right, and if you're looking to get into sports analytics, guys, this could be a good project for you to play with. Right, if you're just playing with it by yourself, you might not have a lot of data, but I'm sure there are places where you can find some data, to help you with that. And if you land a job at one of these leagues, right, like the NBA, for sure, I know uses a lot of statistics, right? Even just watching the game, they'll tell you how much, 3-pointers a player is making, their percentage of pass, defensive, efficiencies, and all of that stuff. It's a lot of data that you can use, plug into your model, and you can say, in the season of 2021 or so, it is likelihood that so and so team is going to win, right? You can talk about that for the NBA, you can talk about that for NFL or NHL, MLB, or what, MLS, whatever, a league you support. If you're abroad in different countries, whatever leagues in your countries, you can certainly use data to predict who is going to win, maybe teams or players, or you can take this to whatever dimension you want. All right, now guys, let's go into the next one here, which is about credit card fraud. It's a big problem. A lot of companies, they lose money because of this. All right, and they're always looking for ways to say, who is committing fraud based on certain patterns in a transaction. And if you can use machine learning to detect that, that could help save companies a lot of money. Who is going to default on a credit card, right? Is there fraud happening based on the pattern of transactions that we've seen? All right, so this is a big field that a lot of companies, are hiring for, and they're looking for people with skills to build this kind of solution. So if you can, start, building projects around this and getting an understanding of how this all works, guys, you're gonna put yourself in a good position to be marketable, to be hireable, all right, to add a lot of value to organizations. Just to give you a quick story on this one, a couple of years back, I was on a trip and I went out to, I believe that was California at the time. I was in the Twin Cities, did some transactions, and then I flew over to California for a meeting. And as soon as I landed there, I went to the store to buy something, and I swiped my credit card, and it said it wouldn't go through. Well, but I knew that my credit card had a balance, so why wouldn't it go through? And I just used it, before the flight. And so I called the credit card company to say what was going on, and they told me that their system detected, an unusual transaction, and so they put a block on my credit card. And then when I called and confirmed that it was me, they took out the block. Now imagine that someone had maybe stolen my credit card number, which happens a lot, right? We know this a lot. Ask anybody with Capital One a couple of years ago, they'll tell you about, fraud and theft of credit card information. And so if that was a real theft that was happening, by me being in one city a few hours and then in another city in a few hours, a city I never go to or I hadn't been to before, they can see that in their system. That is unusual. All right, and putting that block there is a safety measure to check to make sure that is it really me, and once I confirm that, then I can do my transaction. So again, another very interesting use case for using ML for helping organizations and for helping with some good use cases. And a lot of companies are hiring for this, guys. This one is the one where if you know what you're doing, you are going to be very marketable, because almost every company out there, they want to make money. They don't want fraud. And so if you can help with anything around fraud, even insurance fraud, healthcare fraud, whatever fraud, guys, you're going to be in a really good position as we go forward. Now, the next one that we have on this list is object detection. I know we've talked a lot about, predictions and images and, computer vision, but object detection is one of those big areas around computer vision that in the next decade, I believe is going to boom. If there's any one area in machine learning that or AI that should boom and see a lot of disruption in the next decade, would be this object detection. All right, everything from as simple as being able to hold up an object in front of a camera and the camera can sense it and tell you what object that is, which happens today. There's a lot of advancements going on around that to say, all right, this is a pen. If you hold it in front of a camera and the camera can look at it and tell you this is a pen, this is a ruler, this is a microphone, this is a book, all right, all the way to being able to analyze movies and tell you scenes and tell you actors and all of that pieces of it, and then taking it to the next level of self-driving cars, right? They say the first trillion-dollar company will probably be the company that wins the race of self-driving cars, right? Thinking about Tesla, thinking about a lot of these companies that are racing to build self-driving cars that are using computer vision, right? And some of it is just basically object detection, because if the car is driving around in the road, it has to know stop signs, it has to know pedestrians, it has to know things. If there's an object on the road, it has to know all of that and be able to drive. So object detection, computer vision would be a big piece, right? All the way to applying this for security. Even people have security cameras in their houses. If a neighbor is walking around, well, your camera can pick it up and know that that's a familiar face, right, with facial recognition. But if you see somebody that is unusual, all right, it might send you an alert to say, hey, this person is no good, we haven't seen this person before, all right, maybe you should do something, take an action around that. And we have governments that are using it, and we know sometimes when governments use technology, people get a little bit leery about that, but it doesn't mean that they're not doing it, right? A lot of governments are using object detection, facial recognition for biometrics, and a lot of use cases. So anything you can do, any project you can find around object detection could be a very powerful boost to your resume and the experience that you might get working on these projects. All right, guys, so there we have it. 10 data science, machine learning, and AI projects you can try to boost your experience, to boost your exposure, to boost your understanding of these concepts. Guys, machine learning and AI is the future. I believe a lot of people have said that this is the electricity of tomorrow. People used to talk about innovation being driven by electricity. Now we already have electricity. We don't need to invent electricity again. All right, now the innovation of tomorrow will be driven by the people who can inject AI into their projects, into their solutions, into their tools. And they're gonna need people with skills to do all of this, And if you can garner the skills by working on some of these projects and getting the experience and getting the portfolio to understand how to work with AI and machine learning, guys, you're gonna really be setting yourself up for great success as we go into the next decade and as we go into the next years ahead. All right, guys, so there you have it, through here with 10 things, 10 projects you should be thinking about. Hopefully you found this valuable. If you did, show us some love by liking the video. But if for some reason you happen not to like the video, guys, we want to hear about it. Go into the section below and just hit the dislike button. Just hit it 2 times, right? Because if you hit it 2 times, it really lets us know that you don't like this video. But of course, I know you like the video, so if you do like the video, make sure you like it, share it with somebody that might get value out of it. This has been Fru. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.